Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest recent updates in WoW Adventure. And if you're playing at world level 79 or above, this is something you absolutely need to understand. Otherwise, you could end up falling behind. This update focuses on two major features: the brand new dungeon mode called Sky Lantern Challenge, and the new enchantment system for gear and accessories. I'll go through both systems and break down everything you need to know. First, let's talk about Sky Lantern Challenge. Basically, this is a new combined version of the two older modes, Time Rift and Lantern Challenge. Once your world level reaches 79, the two old modes will automatically be replaced by a single new mode. Personally, I think this is a pretty reasonable direction because in many gacha games, having too many separate farming modes can make the daily routine feel unnecessarily complicated. You end up with too many things to do and no clear idea of what should be prioritized. Combining them into one mode saves time, concentrates the rewards, and makes the dungeon itself much more valuable to invest your time into. The mode is divided into phases, with each phase lasting 7 days, and each phase contains 3 boss encounters for you to challenge. The important thing to understand is that these boss fights are designed to be extremely difficult, and you need a full team of 10 players just to challenge them. So this is no longer content that you can simply solo or farm by yourself. It's heavily guild-based content that requires coordination and teamwork. If your guild isn't active or doesn't have good organization, you could easily start falling behind here. So if your current guild is too inactive, this might also be the right time to consider moving to a more active one. As for the difficulty, the Affix system here is probably the most interesting part. Within each world level bracket, the difficulty increases as the weeks go by. The first week starts with a 2 Affix challenge, the second week increases to 3 Affixes, and from the third week onward, you'll be dealing with the maximum difficulty of 5 Affixes. Every additional Affix makes the dungeon more difficult, and these Affixes will activate progressively while you're fighting the boss. That means you need to pay close attention to the skill notifications appearing underneath the boss HP bar so you can dodge incoming attacks or adjust your strategy in time. Personally, I think this is a mechanic clearly inspired by systems like Mythic Plus affixes in World of Warcraft, so it should feel very familiar to anyone who has played PC MMOs before. The biggest advantage of this system is that it forces players to actually learn the boss mechanics instead of simply relying on high stats to brute force everything. The difficulty also increases gradually each week, giving players enough time to learn and adapt instead of throwing them into the hardest version immediately. Playing mobile games on your phone is great, but after about 30 minutes, your phone gets hot as a piece of charcoal, the battery drains like crazy, and not to mention the tiny screen causing you to misclick skills over and over again. If you're dealing with the same problems, stop for a few seconds because this is the solution I've been using for the past year. That solution is playing mobile games right on your PC with BlueStacks, one of the most popular and best optimized Android emulators available today. Instead of putting your expensive phone through all that stress, you can bring your entire mobile game library to a large PC screen and play all day without worrying about running out of battery or damaging your phone. So, what do I like most about BlueStacks? First, the super flexible keymapping. Use your mouse to activate skills, move around with the standard WASD keys just like in a real PC game, with extremely fast response times. Second, the multi-instance feature. You can run multiple accounts at the same time, making it incredibly convenient to farm materials or grind alt accounts without having to buy another phone. Third, performance optimization. It supports high FPS and sharp graphics while using your computer's resources efficiently, so even a mid-range PC can run games smoothly. Overall, if you want to take your gaming experience to the next level and grind the rankings smoothly without worrying about damaging your phone, BlueStacks is definitely a must-have software. I've left the official and completely free download link right below in the description and pinned in the comments. Go ahead and download it and give it a try today. One of the most interesting features in this entire update is the first kill rewards. The first time a guild manages to defeat all 3 bosses at 5 Affix difficulty within the same phase for a world level bracket, the entire server will unlock the first kill rewards. Anyone who participated in that historic clear will receive rare appearances and enchantment materials. This is clearly designed to encourage competition and community engagement, similar to the race to world first concept seen in major MMO games. For top guilds, this could become a serious race for the first clear, while for regular players, it at least gives them something meaningful to work toward and another reason to keep improving their characters. Now let's talk about the hunt and pursuit systems, because this is one part that can be pretty confusing if you don't understand how the two work together. Hunt is your main clear, and each boss only gives you one subjugation reward per phase. After successfully completing a hunt, you can use your pursuit attempts to challenge that same boss again. If you win, you'll receive pursuit medals, which can be exchanged for rare items in the co-op mall. Each character gets 3 pursuit attempts per phase. What makes this system interesting is that during pursuit, if you help another player who hasn't completed their hunt yet and help them clear the dungeon, you'll receive additional pursuit medals. In other words, the system actively encourages stronger players to help weaker players, instead of everyone simply looking after themselves. I think this is a really smart design because it addresses a common problem in gacha games. Stronger players usually have very little reason to help weaker players. Here, there's an actual reward for doing it. And then we have the most interesting part of all, the boss secret trove and the auction system at the end of each phase. As soon as any player on the server successfully completes a hunt against a boss, the corresponding secret trove will be activated. At the end of the phase, the server will open a global auction. After transaction fees are deducted, the proceeds will be distributed according to the dividend coefficient among all players who successfully completed the hunt for all 3 bosses during that phase. This is basically a miniature in-game economy, almost like a simplified dividend system. You don't need to win the auction yourself to benefit from it. As long as you meet the requirement of completing all 3 hunts, you'll receive a share of the distribution. This also encourages players to participate consistently instead of stopping halfway through the phase, because the more active the auction becomes, the larger the overall reward pool can potentially be. Now let's move on to Gear Enchantment. This new system also unlocks once your world level reaches 79, and you can access it through your backpack under the Gear Enchantment tab. Enchantment is divided into 2 categories, Gear Enchantment and Accessory Enchantment, clearly separating your main equipment from your accessories. Enchanting an item increases its stats, and more importantly, equipping 2, 4, or 6 pieces with the same enchantment type will activate additional set effects, similar to the familiar set bonus systems found in many RPGs. There are 3 enchantment rarities, purple, yellow, and red, from lowest to highest. The good thing is that you don't have to get lucky and roll a red enchantment right away. You can gradually build your way up from purple and use synthesis to upgrade it into higher rarities. This makes the system much more friendly for free-to-play and slower players because you have a clear progression path instead of being completely dependent on RNG. What I really like is that enchantment materials will be unlocked gradually through each phase of Sky Lantern Challenge, and you can check the details directly in the ranking rewards section on the dungeon screen. This creates a very clear gameplay loop. You play Sky Lantern Challenge to earn enchantment materials, use those materials to make your character stronger. That increased power helps you tackle harder dungeon content in the next phase, and then the cycle continues. This is a classic live service progression system, giving players a consistent reason to come back and keep farming every week. Overall, I think this is a pretty ambitious and well-developed update. It doesn't simply add new content. It also restructures the entire endgame ecosystem for players who have reached world level 79. The biggest strengths are the pursuit system encouraging cooperation, the auction system creating a community-driven economy, and the enchantment system providing a clear character progression path without relying too heavily on luck. However, you should keep in mind that this content requires a team of 10 players, and the difficulty ramps up quickly all the way to 5 Affix. If you're primarily playing solo or your guild isn't strong enough, it will be difficult to reach the first kill rewards or even complete the highest level hunt. My advice is that if you're getting close to world level 79, start coordinating with your guild now and set up some practice sessions together, because this content is clearly designed to reward teamwork rather than solo grinding. And if you haven't reached 79 yet, this is definitely the next major milestone you should work toward, because the new rewards and progression systems are absolutely worth investing your time into. That's all for today's video. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to support the channel and leave a comment telling me what you think about this update. I'll see you in the next video when I get to test Sky Lantern Challenge in-game. See you next time.